Jacob refused to believe what he had seen. The mind could play tricks, especially under stress. Maybe it was exhaustion, lack of sleep, the unfamiliar city, or even something he ate. Shadows couldn't move on their own. Whispers didn't crawl under the skin. Faceless figures weren't real. He repeated these thoughts like a mantra, convincing himself that logic and reason were still on his side. The city looked normal in daylight. People walked, laughed, sipped coffee at small. The alley that had terrified him was just another narrow passage between buildings, filled with graffiti and discarded trash. There was nothing unnatural about it, nothing out of place. He almost felt embarrassed at how shaken he had been. As he moved through the streets, blending into the crowd, he tried to push it all aside. Then it happened. A stranger passed him, just another face in the shifting sea of people. But something in her expression froze him in place. She had barely glanced at him, yet in that brief moment, her eyes told him everything. Recognition, a flicker of surprise, as if she knew. Jacob felt a wave of unease. He didn't know her, had never seen her before, but she had looked at him as if she understood exactly what he had been through. And then, just like that, she was gone, slipping into the moving crowd as if she had never been there at all. He tried to follow, searching for a flash of color, something to make her stand out, but she had disappeared completely. It didn't make sense. She should have been easy to spot, yet every figure around him blended into a dull, colorless mass. For a long moment, Jacob just stood there, heart pounding, trying to piece together what had just happened. Had she really been there? Or was this another trick of his exhausted mind? But the way she had looked at him, there had been no confusion in her eyes, no hesitation, just the quiet certainty of someone who already knew the truth. Jacob shivered. Maybe the city wasn't done with him yet. Jacob stood frozen in place, the weight of that brief encounter pressing down on him. The logical part of his mind insisted that it had meant nothing, just a stranger passing by. A trick of paranoia, a meaningless glance in a crowded street. But deep down, something else was stirring, a cold, quiet certainty that she had known. The city no longer felt the same. It wasn't the whispering shadows or the suffocating silence of the night. It was something far worse. A feeling, subtle but relentless, that he was being watched. Not in the obvious way. Not with eyes following him from windows or figures lurking at street corners. It was something heavier, something unseen pressing against him, studying him from a place just beyond perception. Jacob shook his head, forcing himself to move. He couldn't let his mind unravel. Not now. He retraced his steps, scanning the crowd, searching for any trace of the woman. Bright colors, sneakers, the oversized hoodie. But the more he searched, the more impossible it became. The crowd around him seemed to shift, faceless, blending into a muted blur of motion. She had vanished like smoke. He kept walking, hoping distance would dull the feeling creeping under his skin. The city stretched around him, old and beautiful, but its charm now felt like a carefully constructed mask. He saw the details he had missed before, the way some streets seemed to empty, the way certain doors looked untouched for years, despite their pristine appearance, the way people moved with just a little too much purpose, their faces impassive, their eyes fixed ahead as if avoiding something unseen. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't exhaustion. It was real. The woman had known, and if she had known, it meant she had seen them too.